he lives his life. I live my lifetime. You know, time passed, and then it's like, wow, I didn't speak to him in a while. And then sometimes you don't know where you stand with somebody. But I think I've learned to like not let pride or things of that nature interfere with strong relationships. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's as my man Jungle said, this is how it's supposed to have been.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Now there's a lot. You dropping a lot of gems on this project.
Okay.
It's real introspective. A lot of years of wisdom being spilled out into the music. And I was just playing this track where the hook was, "We wanna kill you." So how did you get there? How did you get to that point where you just felt like, yo, I got to give him this?
I mean, you either some people mature and some people just get old. So picture me as an artist. As an artist, I think artists are all supposed to ascend, and you can relate to that.
Right.
I think you're supposed to ascend. That song that we talking about was from '98.
Yeah.
So if I'm rapping like that in 2022, that's no growth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's stagnation. Even if it's, you know, stagnation to entertain somebody, is still stagnation.
Right.
So I didn't want to be that guy. And then at the end of the day, how many rappers is there now? Like rappers is like a fucking it's like it multiplies and multiplies. Like back then it was like a certain amount of number. Now whatever number of rappers it was when that song came out,
it's times 1,000
you see what I'm
million
saying?
right now.
So how do you stand out?
Right.
And then the scary thing is like we all human. We all study life. We study the game. I study the culture. I study artists as they grew. Hip hop is a young genre. It's only about to be 50.
50, yeah.
So the guys that set the tone, most of those guys, they're not in the game no more. And then there was the next wave of guys. A couple of those guys are still in the game. So as these guys get older, who carried it and who pushed it to the next level, whereas the Tony Bennett's kept doing what they was doing, and Frank Sinatra would perform till he was what, 90s and shit.
Facts.
So what rapper carried the torch and carried maturity to the point where if you grew up listening to Rakim and Cool G and Kane and all of that, and then Big and Tupac and the Nas and the Wu, you grew up hearing excellence. So what about the people that grew up that grew older from that generation? What's there for them to listen to?
Right.
Because the stuff that would catch their attention, the mature content, doesn't get played on the radio anymore.
Right.
So, and then there's street guys that would love to hear music, but they can't relate to some of the younger stuff. So it's like I wanted to be that voice. I wanted to do mature street rap, and I wanted to be the reason why older people could still enjoy rap, and the reason why younger people can listen to my rap and tap in and learn something from it and gain something from it. So that's where I'm at with it.
I say you hit that goal.
You struck a balance.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
That was the goal. It was a risk, but it was worth it. I probably will never do a sequel album again. This is the Realness Part 2 that's out now. I will never do a sequel album again.
Why?
It's too much pressure.
You said it's too much pressure?
It was a lot of pressure for me.
Was it like doing a sophomore album? Like going back in the day and doing a sophomore?
But it would have to be a sophomore album after a hit first album.
Right. It was like making The Godfather 2.
Right.
That's what this was like. Because the Realness was like so highly regarded that I had apprehensions about doing the Realness 2. It was the fans who gassed me up. So I know to do a Realness 2, whenever you do a sequel, if any of us do a sequel of anything, your biggest adversary is going to be yourself. They're going to compare your first thing to this.
Right.
So the first thing, my fear was, it's not as good as the first one. That's what the critics are going to say, or the people are going to say, oh, no, he shouldn't have did it. Or, you know, so it's like that was what drove me. That was the thing that kept me focused and driven on this project, like not to fail. I didn't want to fail. Failure was my biggest motivation on this album. I did not want to fail. So I don't want that kind of pressure. Those nights, like, you probably it probably happens to you. It probably happens to all of us that are creators. When you go to bed after a good day and then you wake up 3 in the morning, like, why the fuck am I up? Like, I don't want to be up because I can't sleep because I'm thinking about this shit. Or you write a rhyme and you're happy with it, and 30 minutes later you rip the shit up, you throw it away, you're writing it again. Or you're doing your vocals and you think it's good. Next thing you know, you're doing it over, and it's like, I don't want to go through that no more. It was just a lot of
You
pressure.
went through a lot of that.
Yeah, it was pressure. So I don't want that kind of pressure ever again. I'm being honest.
You know they made a Godfather 3.
And and see what happened.
I'm saying.
There won't be no Godfather 3 over there. I'm tapping out on 2.
Fair enough.
I think you're gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I hear you.
The trilogy?
Yo, just save this clip. You heard? Save this clip.
Only way I could do a Realness 3.
See, already.
I would tell you the only way I would do it.
It sounds great, just him saying it.
No way possible. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
See, he switched it up. We hyped it too much.
But didn't you say that after you did the Realness one?
After I did the Realness 1, I didn't even think I was making music. I did the Realness 1 as a FU to the industry. I was frustrated. When I made the Realness 1, I was trying to put the testament out. There wasn't supposed to be a Realness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And TVT gave me the money. They gave me $250,000, and now it's supposed to go to Violet Def Jam. Well, to Def Jam at that point. And they said they want $350, which I told that story many times. And when they raised it to $350, which is unheard of, it was like saying "F you," and I took it personal. And I wrote the Realness out of frustration. That was like a fuck you album. That's why it was like a chip on my shoulder, that album. And I wrote that album, and that was it. That was my fuck you. I'm going back to hustling. And real talk. Yeah. And what happened was, it comes out, #1 heat seeker in Billboard for 2 weeks in a row, which is the #1 new artist in any genre. I could have been a rock and roll, no matter. I was the #1 heat seeker. I could show you the paper. Yeah. For 2 weeks in a row. I don't know where I was at on R&B charts or hip hop charts. I was on all those charts, but to be the #1 artist for 2 weeks in a row, sold over 100,000. Like, I was killing it, and I was like, oh shit. So that made me realize I really could do this shit.
Right.
So when I made the Realness, I didn't think about Realness 2. I didn't think about the future. I was thinking about, I didn't even know what I wanted to do in life yet. I wasn't used to being a recording artist. I was used to being in the street. And even when I had a record deal, they didn't have me in the studio all the time. I was on the show. Right. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know, if it wasn't for me having self-confidence, I would have melted. Because you think about it, if somebody puts you on the shelf, what is that saying about you?
Right.
It's kind of like saying, wow, I'm on the shelf for a reason. I must not be as good as they think.
Good enough.
Right.
So that inner belief in me is what pushed me. And that's what I always tell the young people too, and even older people, especially young people, like, you got to believe in yourself. Like,
first and foremost.
I hate when I see people say, like, somebody's not supporting them, or or fronting on them, or you don't front on yourself. Support yourself. You know what I'm saying? You build it and they'll come. So, when I did the Realness, I didn't expect that. I thought I was gonna do like 50,000, or hoping I'll do 50,000.
Right.
The label was like, "You think you'll do 50,000?" I was like, "Yeah." You know what I'm saying? I got a $15,000 advance from Landspeed, and I ain't even spent. I put it in my bag. It sat there for months. Only reason I put it in the bank because they checks was bouncing. So I put it in the bank so I could get my money. But I had money, so I just did it. That was for my man Blue, that album. It was a fuck you to the industry, and it was a tribute to my man Blue.
It's Hoffa, trapper turned smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars, I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work, you heard. Making fiends leave earth, you heard. Got your baby mama thirst, you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf, you heard.